Oh, thank you very much. Thank you all who are here in person. It's great to be over here in Sydney, and thank you to everyone who's watching online currently over West. This has been an amazing session that's been put together. Some fantastic companies that have presented the last few rounds, all doing excellent exploration work, and it's a bit of an honor and a privilege to be up here amongst them. In particular, after us is Damien Keys from Sunshine Gold as a shareholder, a big supporter of them, and I believe they are where Dreadnought was 2 years ago, so really excited to see what they have to say after this. But get this thingamajigger to work and talk about Dreadnought and where we are at the moment. So Dreadnought Resources, we've been around for about 3 years. We've had a lot of questions lately about what our end game is. And as a junior explorer, your end game ultimately is one, to be taken out by a major company after making a big discovery, or number two, taking some amazing discovery into production yourself. So your Sandfires of DeGrussa at one extreme, and your Serious Resources and your Spectrums at the other end of the extreme. And somewhere in between, where we deliver significant shareholder value, that's what we are looking for as major shareholders ourselves. But most importantly, and where we are right now, we are an exploration company, and the greatest value creator in this industry is making the discovery and delivering that first resource. You look at Sandfires DeGrussa from first intercept of discovery through first resource, second resource was an 11,000% shareholder return. DeGray, 2,500%. Chalice, 7,000, 9,000%. That is the greatest value creation in this industry, and my team and myself and Dreadnought, that is what we're focused on delivering. And once we make those discoveries and deliver those resources, which we believe we will start doing this year, then we will start looking at the next stage, which is crystallizing that value for our shareholders. We have leverage to a number of critical metals across the industry. We have gold assets. We have Metzke's gold resource coming out soon. Finally, we're finishing up drilling out at our aara project, and we're about to embark on a few drilling programs for the next 6 to 9 months, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to. We have our nickel copper PGE drilling with First Quantum about to commence probably this week. Following that, once we have the last of our approvals in place, which are underway, we will commence our rare earth drilling at Mangaroon. And then following that, we'll migrate up to the Kimberley, where we currently have an Auger program, drilling our copper, gold, silver, and cobalt massive sulfide deposit, looking for friends to that. We've made a number of discoveries already. We have a few more coming up, and we'll be delivering resources on those. And we believe there's a lot of value and a lot of opportunity in what we're doing. On top of that, we're all shareholders. We're very well vested and aligned with everyone. Put 84% of our money in the ground, because that's the only way you make discovery. There's been a lot of active people presenting today, and fantastic to see that in the industry. So I'll start off with Mangaroon. This is where we're about to head up to. We have 2 projects within one here. We have over 4,500 square kilometers of ground. It's certainly a province scale play. I'm sure companies like IGO are sort of jealous of ground holdings like this, and especially the fact that we did a joint venture with First Quantum very early on the back of some of our outcropping high tenor 3-phase nickel sulfides we saw in the Money Intrusion, 800 million year old 50 kilometer long dike with outcropping sulfides. With First Quantum over the past year, we have entered into a joint venture, $15 million they have to spend to get 51%, and we are free carried through a decision of mine for them to get 70%. We control exploration up front. There's a very tight time frame on that, so there's no lagging behind like some big companies like to do. We are in the driver's seat and spending their money, which is a great spot to be in. Following that commences probably this week, and then the rest of the project, which we own 100%, right across from Hastings Yangibana mine that's in development at the moment, Australia's next rare earth producer. We are across the Lions River Fault. We have a number of ironstones identical to the Yangibana ironstones. The metallurgy's done. It's looking good. We're going to put the first drill holes into that and turn around, infill that, and deliver the first resource. And on top of that, we have the carbonatite sitting across the way, which might be the source of the whole thing, which would certainly change the economics in the future of this region. So about Mangaroon, so we've only had this project for about a year. The tenement's only granted at the end of last year. During that time period, we've mapped the entire 50 strike kilometers. We've done mag survey, soils, mapping, rock chipping. We've identified a 1.2 kilometer long gossinous horizon with a coincident DEM anomaly sitting underneath it, and a few other wildcat holes around the place. We have 9 holes, 1,200 meters going in, probably starting this week as soon as we wrap up aara and get mobilized up there. That's going to be a very, very exciting project. See what if these blebby high tenor sulfides accumulate into a massive deposit near surface, or a net textured sulfide deposit, which still be high grade, and to also provide downhole EM platforms to explore for something at depth. So expect to see this kick off here in the next few days. Following that, we have the Mangaroon rare earths. This has been a very exciting development for Dreadnought. We only tripped over these things in April last year, and given the current market and appetite for rare earths and all the international activities that are going on, we took every spare minute of our time in the last 12 months to go out here and actually chase this and see what we can do. Like all rare earths, you can chip down a rabbit hole of metallurgy and all sorts of horrible nastiness. And thankfully, we have Hastings next door, who spent the last 10 years cracking the code, if you will, on how to make a nice clean monazite concentrate and a sellable product. And so we're able to jump on their shoulders of the giants next to us and do the exact same flotation test work. So taking outcrop samples, 60, 80 kilos on our backs, humping it out, and through flotation, simple flotation sheet, and produce the exact same high-grade monazite concentrate with high NdPr, using the exact same technique as Hastings next door. Considering we have a Luca, who just got their $1 billion metal cracking fund from the federal government, we have Hastings into development next door, and we have Linus developing their monazite concentrate in Kalgoorlie. They have 3 very large and successful monazite facilities going to be into production in the next year or 2, and we're going to be proving up what we believe to be the other half, hopefully of Yangibana, on the back of that, to feed into that market. So hopefully starting this month, as soon as we finish with the nickel drilling, we're at about 90 holes for 9,000 meters going into the ironstones. That's going to start off with wide space drilling at Yin, Y2, and Y3. We'll be able to assay these in the field for ourselves and log and see the ironstones, and we'll be able to design an infill program that we'll be able to do while we have the rig out there in the field. So we do the first pass drilling at Yin, Y2, Y3. We go over to the carbonatites. We put the first holes into those. That can be an absolute game changer for the region. We then take the rig back to Yin, Y2 or Y3, do the infill, and deliver the resource before the end of this year. Hastings did that from 2011 to 2015. Every drill program they delivered on each of their deposits, they did a drill program, they put out a resource. We have Lynn Windebar and other people who are involved in delivering those resources already on board with us. We have the metallurgist in place, the resource geologist in place. All we have to do is drill it, see what comes up, and put the resource out on it. And that program is commencing very shortly. After that, and we're also working here at the moment, Taraji Yampi up in the Kimberley. Last year we made a massive sulfide discovery up here of high-grade copper, cobalt, silver, and gold. It's an area that's been off limits since 1978. It's a major listing asset of Dreadnought. This has been a long-time dream of a lot of our founders. You're always looking for the overnight success, like the companies I mentioned earlier, and usually it takes a few years to become an overnight success. And Taraji Yampi is certainly one that's been waiting in the wings for quite some time. Last year we made that discovery at Orion. The guys were absolutely ecstatic. I'm pretty sure I sat down on the ground and started crying when the guys made that discovery. I showed up on site that day. It was pretty exciting. And then we quickly followed up and made the rest of that dry season by putting a bunch of holes into that. We've only tested it down to 150 meters vertical depth. The geophysics shows that it goes down to 500. When we mobilize up there after Mangaroon, we'll take our RC rig and 2 diamond rigs up there. The diamond rigs will be drilling into this Orion deposit at depth. We'll be able to scope that out, see if we turn that into the resource, along with Grants, which is only 2 kilometers away. And the RC rig will go in and be focusing on trying to find Orion's friend. So one of the most exciting things that we learned about the Taraji Yampi project area on the back of that discovery at Orion is that the entire area is covered by black plain soils. Like Mount Isa, you have these veins sticking out of the ground. Occasionally gets a good deposit on that, but the big prizes are sitting a bit undercover, the big breccia pipes, the big sulfide bodies. And so we always wanted to see what's under the cover, what's under the black plain soils. And we thought that would be 30 to 40 meters thick. On the back of Orion, we hit the Gaussian on that thing at only 1 meter under the cover, and the maximum depth of cover we had was 5 meters. We were not expecting that, and that provided us with a fantastic opportunity to get up there, and creativity loves constraints, as they say. And we have just recently kicked off an Auger program supported by the helicopter, which has allowed us to get up to the Taraji Yampi project during the wet season. And we can actually go around and look for that geochemical dispersion, which we identified around Orion from our drilling, so that when we get back up there with the RC rig later this year, we'll actually be going after geochemical mineralized targets, potentially tapping a Gaussian with that Auger rig. There are also lithostructural targets, and actually open up this area and prove that what we believe, that this thing is going to be a new camp. It's a fantastic area. There's 2,400 Auger program holes there. that we're planning right now that's underway. We're about 600-800 samples into that already. That'll be running for the next few months, and when we get up there drilling with the RC rig, that Auger program will still keep going. You have an area that's been off limits to exploration since 1978 and last explored by Roy Woodall in 1958, and you potentially find a way to crack that code and deploy modern geochemical exploration under thin cover and unlock an entirely new province is probably one of the most exciting things that I've ever had available to me. And my team is absolutely beside themselves on what we're going to get out of this program. So there's no guarantees in exploration ever, but there's not many opportunities to come across like this. And Alara, so we are currently wrapping up a 6,500 meter RC program at Alara. When we had projects like the Kimberley and Mangaroon, you have very seasonality, plays a big role. And as a junior explorer, we have a team of exploration geologists that love getting out there. We need to keep that news flow pumping. We picked up the Alara Greenstone Belt, 75 strike kilometers of greenstone off Newmont in 2019. And it's certainly been a fantastic project to have in the back pocket, if you will. Most companies, I think, would love to have a project like this as their keystone asset. And at the moment, because of Mangaroon and Taraji Yampi, this is our back pocket project. This 6,500 meter program, we identified some base metal conductors, some VMS-style targets at Nelson and Trafalgar. We hit massive sulfides in that first pass program and a lot of thick disseminated sulfides. Quite excited to see what comes back from that drilling. All those samples are at the lab. And what was a surprise in that drilling is that we hit a few thick pegmatites. We had Peggy Sue around the corner, which was some outcropping fertile pegmatites with high tantalum. We're quite close to the source intrusion, and the question is which way is the vector, where's the fractionation trend, where's the lithium and all the other valuable minerals going to fall out. And at Nelson, which is several kilometers away from that source intrusion, we hit some thick pegmatites. They look really juicy. They're at the lab, and we'll find out if there's any lithium in them or not. Gold, Metzke's find. So we promised this resource last year. We got distracted at Mangaroon, and Paul Payne wanted a few more drill holes in the top 40 meters to have higher confidence in that resource. We've now completed that drill program. Those assays will come out. We'll put out that resource later this year. And we also put in quite a few holes into Spitfire, which we anticipated being a BIF-hosted gold target. Some of the BIF looked very enriched in iron ore, and it also was quite a bit of, well, hopefully, some nice indications of what we think will be a gold in there. We also taste the iron ore with Gina Reinhardt recently taking over a bunch of ground north of Mount Bevan, which is next door to us, and Minres building haul roads right next to us and operating in the area, looking at not only the high-grade iron, but also the magnetite potential of the area. We're surrounded by companies that have a lot of interest in the iron ore. We have a lot of iron ore on our ground, and looking for ways to commercialize that. We put a bit of work into that, and the pegmatites and the nickel sulfides were advancing in the background. So what does that look like for us this year? We will be looking at, for the Kimberley, this Auger program is generating targets. They will define targets as we go back and infill those. RC rig gets up there. We drill those high priority targets and hopefully deliver a discovery, a friend to Orion. And at the same time, the diamond rigs will be going at Orion and Grants to convert those into preliminary resources. At Mangaroon, our targets are defined, our heritage approvals are done in place, and we'll be commencing drilling up there in the next week. Mangaroon, the rare earth side of things, 100% owned by us. We have defined the targets. I don't like to call things discoveries until they're drilled, so we'll put the first drill holes into them, delivering those discoveries, come back straight away, infill those, and deliver the resources. And Alara, we've advanced a lot of projects in the background to keep us going. So we have a very busy next 6 to 9 months ahead of us, and thank you guys very much for listening.
Thank you, Dean Tuck. We have one session to go.